We'll get started, inshallah. So, Bismillah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you everyone for joining us this morning for the American Muslim Community Foundation community update on the Turkey and Syria earthquake relief efforts. My name is Ola and I'm the nonprofit engagement manager at AMCF. And really humbled to have a fantastic panel of nonprofits here today that are doing the hard work on the ground to share about what they're doing. So before we get started, I'm going to just take a few minutes to share a little bit about AMCF. And even before that, I'd like to start us off by just taking a moment to think about the people that we're coming together to talk about today, the people that have been impacted by these earthquakes. It's a crisis of massive proportions that we haven't seen in a long, long time. And so if you don't mind, after the program, we'll start with a moment of prayer for them, non-denominational, just whatever faith perspective or non-faith perspective you're coming from to think of them. And then the program after that, we'll briefly talk about who we are, AMCF, and then we'll jump into the nonprofit presentations. We have about 7 or 8 nonprofits presenting. We'll give them 7 minutes each, and then we will go into question answer. And you could direct your questions at a particular organization and their representative, or you could just say a general question for anyone to take. So if you can join me in just thinking of those who have been impacted and sending our prayer and love. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking that moment. And we're here to reflect. We're here to take a moment of pause about a month after this natural disaster happened, but we're also here to push for continued action. As we know, there have been continuing smaller, but still continuing earthquakes to happen. Ramadan is around the corner, and a large part of the population that were affected will be celebrating Ramadan. And then we're seeing it slip out of the headlines. We see that consistently being a comment from activists. So we want to keep the conversation alive. We want to encourage people to continuously give, because it will be a very long time in healing and recovering from this disaster. So that's part of our mission here at American Muslim Community Foundation, is to really bring together the community around nonprofit causes and then around times of crisis like this. So just a little bit about what is a community foundation. There are hundreds of them across the country, very old institution here in the US. But basically the idea is to bring together donors and nonprofit causes, connect the two, uplift and capacity build for nonprofits, and build a community around giving and giving continuously. And AMCF was born out of the need or seeing the need that there was.
I can continue. I think something happened with the internet there. So I was saying that Community Foundation is publicly supported nonprofit institution that facilitates donor giving to impactful social causes, uplifts nonprofit organizations through grants and capacity building, and builds community around philanthropy. And I think it's really important.
Sorry, everyone.
No, it's totally fine. I continued a little bit.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, can you hear me?
Can everyone hear me okay? Okay.
You guys are
so sorry about not losing it, everyone. Okay. The AMCF was born really out of the need for seeing a need that for a community foundation that specifically caters to the need of the American Muslim community. So just a snapshot of our vision and mission. Again, we're about promoting sustainable giving, strategic giving, being smarter basically about how we pursue our donations. And we have kind of several programs that we are revamping and expanding. These are just a few that are relevant to the nonprofit sphere. We feature nonprofits across the US through Instagram, through podcasts, So that's something, since we have several nonprofits here with us today, if that's something that you're interested in having your work featured on our platforms, please reach out. We have a yearly nonprofit management and leadership series called the Social Impact Accelerator. We'll bring together experts to share their expertise in a number of nonprofit areas. So that's another program that nonprofits may be interested in. And we host endowments for those looking kind of for more long-term sustainability. And we do webinars such as this one and community events, as well as one-on-one consulting. So that's it about us. I want the focus to be on our nonprofits today and the work that they're sharing. Most of you have already communicated with me or know where to find me. But just in case, here's some contact information. Alrighty, so we have the following nonprofits here with us today. I think we might have one who's not here, Mercy Without Limits. Everyone else should be with us on the call. We're going to open the floor for them now to share their presentations, and I'm going to give just a kind of a visual marker, my hand up, and also signal in the chat when they have about 1 minute left. So we're excited to hear what they share. And first up, we have from the Islamic Medical Association of North America, Dr. Tariq Chima. You should be able to share, Dr. Chima, if you're sharing.
And
Okay.
just so it's clear that I'm putting whoever is speaking on the spotlight so that the recording can catch who's the person speaking.
Thank you, Sarah.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning, assuming that most of you are in the North America. So I'm just back to Islamabad from my medical mission to Turkey. So thank you very much for allowing us an opportunity to share our experience as well as working, and hoping that many of you will also be advising us and supporting us as we move forward. So a few facts about Islamic Medical Association of North America. It was established in 1967 on the sidelines of MSA, an old organization around for 55 years, and you can imagine how much money, resources, time has been put into it, because Imana, right from the very early times, started working in providing relief under Red Crescent Committee, which later turned into our other relief arm. Our strength, of course, lies in our diversity and our selflessness, because all our members are belonging to the Muslim faith, and of course, keep a lot of emphasis on charity. So we have been almost everywhere in the world, irrespective of geography, ethnicity, faith, and Alhamdulillah, so far it has a very strong track record of doing whatever they can do within their means. I also represent the Board of Trustees. I'm one of the trustees of Imana. Interestingly, when I switched from my surgical career to philanthropy, my first job was at Imana. I joined as an associate director, late 90s. And today I'm also humbled and honored to serve on the Board of Trustees. But why I like Board of Trustees very much is because they are not really doing their job just to look after and oversee the organizational affairs and provide direction, but almost each one of us has been on the ground together with other volunteers and providing this important relief work. A quick overview of our impact over the years, I'll let you go over, but this is quite a sizable, I must say, impact footprint that we have over the years. And interestingly, the need is, of course, on the rise. So is the interest of the many young physicians who are joining us. So what makes us really happy is that the legacy is passing on to the young generation of physicians. We have been working in Syria way before and well before the earthquake. Since 2012, Imana has been rolling out its various projects under Serve Syria. Some of them, medical missions started in 2016, and then we were also having some specialized missions like cataract surgeries, and also recently the plastic and reconstructive surgeries, especially focusing on the children who have been hurt or injured during these conflicts. Our ongoing projects, one is Turkey-based, but it is focusing on the Syrian communities. One is in Istanbul, the other in Şanlıurfa. So these projects were also affected due to the recent earthquake, but we are doing our best to make sure that their services continue. The recent earthquake, of course, has been very serious. I have been to at least a dozen disasters in past, but I think I was really shell-shocked when I arrived in Karaman, Marash, and then I drove to Adiyaman and to Hatay. It's looked like a scene from a World War movie or something like that, unimaginable. Thick population, urban population, so many demolitions of the buildings. So I think the scale of it and the loss it has caused in terms of human lives and material is unimaginable on the both sides. Of course, in Turkey, because there was more access to the media and people could reach there quickly, we were getting news coming out of Turkey much sooner than Syria. But devastation was same, but scale might be different because there was more thick population on the Turkish side than there were more of a rural population on the other side, thanks God. But again, it's a damage which, based on the current socio-economic and political conditions of the Syrians living in the northern Syria, I think it's a very big disaster, and they definitely need more support. In terms of emergency response, we were able to immediately release $50,000 through our partner organization called Doctors Worldwide, their Turkish chapter, also known as Yeryüzü Doktorları, which have been working actually in northern Syria for last many years. So this was, the immediate support that we could do within, about 48 hours of this disaster. We continued providing more medicine and supplies, especially sending it across the Turkish border, which took few days in the beginning, but later the corridor was established and the medicines and supplies started moving into Syria, and some more support providing in terms of the children supplements and so on. I think what is really important to discuss is not what we have done, but what we should be doing, and whether we do it within the capacity of Imana or we have other partners with whom we can join hands, or the funders who are willing to support us to take this work forward. I personally believe that it will take not months, but years to get these communities back on their feet and start building their lives again. If we look into the midterm response, we are looking into the possibility of supporting the current healthcare infrastructure in northern Syria and see even if we need to scale up. We are also believe that one of the very important thing is to have a sustainable supply chain of the essential medicine and supplies. One of the way of doing so is to looking into providing the interagency emergency health kits, which are specially designed for such disasters and approved by UN. Those are costly, but very effective. So we are currently seeking funding for that. we had a great experience of creating a similar supply chain for Ukraine. We had a donor who was interested, providing support to Ukraine, and Imana was able to provide medicines worth $15 million over a year period into Ukraine. I have visited myself twice. I went inside of Ukraine during the wartime, and we were able to use the Romania as well as Polish government support on that. So what it tells is our ability that if we have the funding, actually we can undertake a project of that nature and that size. As you know, the doctors are always ready. Within hours, they start approaching, Imana, and they want to volunteer their time, but we have to be very mindful that it is not about just sending down the doctors, but also making sure that their presence actually helps. If the infrastructure is not ready, if the language barriers are there, if licensing issues are there, then you shouldn't be sending your physicians right away, but talk to the local authorities and the doctors and see how you gradually start sending them down to help the existing medical staff. And if they need to help them providing trainings or, lending them hand to share their burden, for instance, orthopedic surgeons or plastic surgeons, and so on. So we are now just ready to start sending our doctors in. On the long-term response, I think this is something which is, to me, is very strategic. Do I have a time?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Now
Yes.
we can.
I apologize that we have to cut you off here. I know that it's a very short.
So this is the last slide, and I will stop here. But what I was gonna say, that most of the humanitarian organizations are there on the ground in the very first 3 months, but gradually, because of their limited resources, we don't see many actors who are staying long-term, but Imana pledges to be there for long-term because we need to help the healthcare infrastructure to be in position to cater the needs of their communities. Thank you very much.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Chima, and really important point that you were making about the mid to long-term development being really about building that capacity on the ground, especially of the locals. And I'm sure that's something that a lot of the nonprofits working on the ground are cognizant of and working towards. Jazakallah khair, thank you so much for sharing the work. Again, apologies for cutting off. I know it's a very short time. We will give an opportunity to share your full slides with participants after, if there was anything that was missed. So next we have from Diana Silicon Valley, Brother Uz.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Yeah, thank you. I'm seeing a lot of great organizations here, and may Allah give you the reward for what you guys are doing. We are not as organized or built around a vision and a purpose like you guys to help others. We were more of put on the spot by this event. We have a small community of Turkish people here, a few hundred families, and then we just wanted to create a community here. And if we're able to get a masjid and then form some community around here, and then with this event, because we're affiliated with the Turkish government, Ministry of Religious Affairs, we were kind of the coordinator for a lot of the help that went through to Turkey. So let me just share my screen real quick, and I'm just going to share my Chrome and talk to you guys about 3 websites. The first one is Diyanet Silicon Valley. This is our organization, and we donated our homepage to collect this money for the earthquake victims. And we do not take any cut from this. We try to pass 100% of the savings to the earthquake victims. And if there are costs associated with it, like carrying goods, wiring fees and all that, we take that on ourselves. So we make sure that every single dime reaches the right people. And who do we donate our money to? So like I mentioned, we're affiliated with, our parent organization is Turkish American Religious Foundation, and they're in Washington, D.C. And through them, we coordinate with Turkish Embassy. Every country around the world, the embassies are asked to coordinate the efforts. So we work with our embassy here, and they tell us which channel needs the most funds, where we can send most of the help. So the first website I'm going to share here is AFAD, and these guys are on the ground. They're the ones they're pulling people out of from under the buildings, and then helping with the tents and the temporary housing. So a big majority of our fund goes to AFAD. And I'm going to send the link to these 3 websites right after. A majority of our funds go here. And then the third website that I'm going to share with you, come on. All right, is Kızılay, which is Red Crescent for Turkey. We channel the zakat donations here because AFAD doesn't have zakat coordination. We channel them to Red Crescent, and they're typically the ones that are providing medical help, tents, and food on the ground. So I just would like to reiterate, all the money that comes our way, we send it over to these organizations. We're more like a proxy organization that the religious organizations around us channel these helps through. And we also work with the Turkish Airlines here. So when we received in the beginning clothing, warm clothing, we packaged and send them through the Turkish Airlines. And then now we're down to medical supplies only. And we're trying to get temporary housing, the container homes. We're trying to help with that. And we have a project that we're working with our parent organization, and we would like to have a sister town in Kahramanmaraş, which is the epicenter of the first earthquake. We would like to help a town build temporary housing, all temporary housing for that town through us here. And we would like to announce them as our sister town and build a relationship, not only for funding purposes, but also emotional support as well, meet with them, go visit them, and all that. So that's all I have to present. I'm happy to take questions, but again, thank you, all of you, from the bottom of my heart, because I'm originally from Turkey, and of course, with Syrians, we have a very close heart connection at the heart. So you guys trying to help us, it means a lot, and it shows that the Ummah is one again, and we help one another. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Uz. If I can ask a quick clarifying question.
Absolutely, yes.
Are all the Diyanet centers kind of in a same network with the same relationships, or is this unique to your Diyanet center at Silicon Valley?
No, the former. The Turkish American Religious Foundation is founded in Washington, D.C. And you probably have heard about the Diyanet Center, the really big mosque that they have in the area. And then there's close to 50 masajid around the country, or organizations, communities. And we're part of that in Silicon Valley.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that. And thank you for clarifying that and for sharing that information. And you are under time, so I'm not giving you the warning. We are moving, inshallah, next to Lena from the International Rescue Committee. Lena, the floor is yours.
Salam, and great thanks again to AMCF for gathering all of us. Thanks to my fellow presenters. It already sounds, I think we're very much complementing each other's work. There's certainly more than enough need for many more organizations. And also thanks for community members for taking the time to join today. My name is Lena Richter. I'm the director of our foundation relations partnerships at the International Rescue Committee. The IRC is a 90-year-old global humanitarian organization. We help people that are affected by protracted and other crises. We're typically in country for at this point over 20 years, just to give you a sense of how long we stay in countries when we do respond to either political or natural disasters. We have programs in 25 American cities supporting refugees and asylum seekers, and a broad range of programs in over 40 countries worldwide. One of those countries is Syria, which all of you know, probably know, is in its 12th year of conflict. Because of this, after the earthquake, and I think kind of appropriately so, Syria is being described as a crisis on top of a crisis. Prior to the earthquake, about 15.3 million people were in need of humanitarian assistance, including many who'd been internally displaced. And one of my peers mentioned kind of their work with IDPs as well. One of the statistics that I've been personally shocked by, on average, IRC's clients in the Northwest and Northeast Syria have been displaced over 20 times in the last decade, thanks to the ongoing conflict, COVID, cholera, and now this natural disaster. IRC has been in Syria for those 10 years with a staff of 1,000, many of whom were affected by the earthquake. Of course, initial efforts really focused on accounting for those staff members, and we're continuing to be very mindful of their ongoing well-being, given the trauma that they have and continue to experience, including, you guys also probably know, there's been hundreds of aftershocks since the original earthquake. As for our response, and Ola, if you don't mind putting up, I have a very basic, I apologize, slide, but it does kind of focus on what we're doing. We're working in the Northwest Syria and in Turkey with a particular focus on the most vulnerable people, women and children, displaced households, and people with disabilities. We're implementing directly in Syria, given that we have had a presence and a large staff presence. But in both countries, we're working with local partners, including providing them with emergency cash to support their immediate activities. For today, I'm actually going to focus on our response in Northwest Syria, given our ongoing presence. But I'll add that much of what we're doing in Syria, we're also doing through our partners in Turkey as well. So in the Northwest, the earthquake affected, I think, like 100% of the population, 4.5 million people, killing over 4,000 people, injuring over 12,000. More than 15,000 buildings were damaged or destroyed. And already the situation in the Northwest was precarious. People were living in refugee camp-like settings and makeshift kind of informal settlements. So the infrastructure wasn't that great to begin with. Here we're planning 2 phases. The first is taking place now. That's the first 3 months. And then the second will be through the rest of the year. In phase 1, we're focusing on these 4 areas: health, primary health, economic support, protection, and early childhood development. And as we can, we're integrating all and trying to kind of use one intervention to be able to steer people to another and provide access and services and information. So in health, the hospitals and our own clinics are pretty much overwhelmed. Many people are coming in with earthquake-related injuries, but they're also coming in with similar needs to what they had pre-earthquake. Respiratory infections, given that it was another harsh winter, issues like diabetes, and of course, the cholera epidemic. So we're focusing on providing primary health care through mobile health clinics. At the moment, they're now reaching about 200 people a day, also through health facilities, including surgical hospitals and mental health units. And we're also providing ambulances as possible, as the supply chain allows, as well as purchasing medical supplies, and also planning to rehabilitate damaged health centers as needed too. In terms of economic support, we had a number of programs pre-earthquake, but the main thing that we're focusing on now is direct cash assistance. People literally have nothing. Their homes were destroyed. They left with nothing. We really want to get them back on their feet, and cash gives people just a sense of control, a sense of power. It restores a bit of normalcy to their lives. It gives them the opportunity to decide how they want to spend their money, whether it's on shelter, medicine, food, and longer term, it also helps kickstart the economy, including giving vendors the confidence to restock. To date, we've made about over 4,000 household cash distributions, touching about 20,000 colleagues, clients. We're also focusing on protection services. Again, that situation was not good prior to the earthquake for women and children who are particularly vulnerable to violence, exploitation, family separation. One way we're doing this is through the creation of safe spaces. And in those safe spaces, we're also conducting early childhood development programming to ensure that kids and their caregivers, mostly mothers and grandmothers, have access to important services, including those that are trauma related. Phase 2 will start in May and it will go through January of 2024. These activities will continue, and then we'll also aim to resume some of the pre-earthquake programming. Throughout, we're ensuring that we're safeguarding our clients. We're paying particular attention to the needs of women and girls. We're aiming to include mental health support as much as possible. We're coordinating with local entities, as well as the UN and others. And as we've already kind of mentioned, working to bolster local organizations. I'll also add that one thing that the earthquake has done is to remind people of the humanitarian crisis in Syria that had really been overshadowed by many other crises around the world. So one of the things that we're also doing is being very active on the policy side, really ramping up efforts to first increase access points, which I think many of you know did actually happen. So more aid is now getting into Syria, and also just advocating for increased funding for both earthquake response and more broadly. In terms of continued needs through Ramadan and even the summer, the UN, I think, has done a study, and it seems as though in Syria, food is really going to be an ongoing issue, given the economic crisis, the continuing economic crisis, the war in the Ukraine, and a weakened local currency. It seems as though food prices in the last year have doubled, and in Turkey, the greatest need seems to be emergency shelter. We also completed, thank you. We also completed another needs assessment that continues to, focus on healthcare, protection needs, as well as wash services. That's water and sanitation. A lot of the water tanks were destroyed in Syria, and people really need access to clean water. One thing I'll kind of end on, back to Allah's original prompt on kind of how we felt immediately after the earthquake. Our CEO, David Miliband, often points out that the statistics are depressing, and we have a lot of very overwhelming statistics around the world right now. But he also noted that people really do give us hope. And our regional director recently said that despite the fact that we have lost colleagues, staff are in shock, many have lost everything. Within days of the first earthquake, our colleagues just wanted to get back to work. They were going to our offices, some of which were damaged. They just wanted to get out and help their neighbors and resume work. And that kind of the generosity of humanity and spirit, to me, is really hopeful. So I'd like to kind of be somewhat optimistic about this, and the fact that I'm hearing what other organizations are doing and that you guys have joined this call is also really hopeful. So thank you very much for that.
Great, thank you, and thank you for ending on that powerful note, Lena. And the point that you made about the cash distributions, I think I'm hearing it circle around about how there's really need now, not for the in-kind donations, but for cash, and people want to be able to have the flexibility to buy what they need. Thank you so much for sharing that. Next, we have the Syrian Forum USA, Brother Ahmad, or is yours?
Thank you very much, and thank you, Lena, for setting the ground for many of the points I wanted to make. And I'm very happy to even say that Syrian Forum and Ihsan are implementing some of IRC's projects as we speak in both the earthquake response as well as the others. And I really appreciate the quick response by IRC and many of our partners. Again, my name is Ammar Kaf. I'm a Syrian American, Muslim American. I used to be in Los Angeles before 2012. And I moved to Turkey with my 3 colleagues from Texas and Chicago. And we co-founded the Syrian Forum, which is registered in Chicago as a 501c3, but also in Turkey and in northern Syria. So I hope I'm not going too fast, but I'll try to be very quick with my quick presentation. So yes, the area has been in North Syria already devastated. Northwest Syria houses about 4.5 million people. Almost 2/3 of them are IDPs, which have been displaced 20 times, as my former colleague has mentioned, in the last 10 years. So you can imagine the entire suffering. 1.8 displaced in camps. You have, camps that have exceeded their living capacity. And there comes the earthquake when really Syrian organizations, NGOs, have been put to the test on the spot, because that's the only, the first 24 hours Turkish NGOs and AFAD and the rest were completely overwhelmed and busy on the Turkish side. So inside Syria, it was only the white helmets that was the rescue teams from the rebels. It was only big size organizations that, we have about 1,500 staff members. So we were able to, within probably like 2-3 hours, we were able to get 300-400 of our staff. The rest of them took time for us to, and we're very lucky as compared to many of our colleagues. I know Karam lost several of their colleagues. I know IRC and many of our colleagues in organizations lost many of their staff and employees and loved ones. We lost 2 of our members in Genderes, of our staff that worked there. And I personally, within 48 hours, our CEO, Hassan Hito, myself, we drove from Istanbul all the way down to, through the Turkish also impacted areas in Islahiya, Osmaniya, Adana, and then Kilis. Even Kilis, although you don't see many, but most of its mosques are for destruction because they're not safe anymore. So many cracks. So we drove down within, Monday was the earthquake. Wednesday, early morning, we were there and spent the first week of the response where people are still coming out of the rubble. So yes, it's a huge devastation over, in a place that is already devastated completely. So there was a sense of unification. We did a kind of a natural organic coordination mechanism between Syrian Forum, the White Helmets, Syrian American Medical Society, Mercy Without Limits, a few others that we were able to get hold of on the spot. What are the priorities? People needed shelters, so immediately build those temporary shelters where you put 4 or 5 families in a big tent, or sometimes even some of those larger tents. They need toilets, they need drinking water, they need immediate food. There was a snowstorm for those who followed that week. I had to wear several layers myself going down, and it was a snowstorm, so people went out in their underwears, in their pajamas, and not having anything and so forth. So you needed blankets, winter clothing, hats, socks, shoes, flip-flops, washing water, toilets, temporary toilets. So, I mean, we were able to, up until today at least, we at the Syrian Forum alone, at least, with again also support from Syrian American Medical Society, SAMS, we were able to until March 3rd, which is yesterday, supported and or sponsored and or established close to 150 centers, temporary shelter centers. We were able to benefit close to 73,000 beneficiaries, helping again from the hygiene kits. Sometimes we get them from our international colleagues like IRC and the others. Cash vouchers also very important, helping with heating fuel, the entire setup. Of course, that's the emergency response will unfortunately go perhaps for at least the next 3 months to 6 months until people start recovering. We've already announced that we are reconstructing or reinforcing damaged 20 of local schools, because also people with kids, we distributed toys, we did a lot of psychosocial support to people in those camps and tents. But very important that, send your kids to school. They need schools. Schools are used as shelters, but there are some schools that we identified as the first 20 batch of schools, and we do have a good capacity at Syrian Forum in the last 10 years in reconstruction, reinforcement, especially even earthquake reinforcement with our engineer teams. So we are a Syrian organization. Our board is on the ground. Our CEO was on the ground, and now he's in Detroit actually today, going to back tomorrow back to Turkey. I'm going also on a visit. So I'm currently even traveling outside of Turkey. So it's been, we call it Ibn Battuta. So I've been traveling for the cause, obviously, because that's what I do for a living 24/7. I'm really honored and happy to be among some of wonderful colleagues. I recognize some of the names and organizations. I think the next phase is probably to, again, fix a lot of the homes that are fixable. There's already engineers that are from the ground, volunteer engineers, networks and unions that are checking homes inside Northwest Syria. I have to say, we also tried to do our part. There's so many organizations in southern Turkey, but we have an office in Gaziantep and Şanlıurfa and also in Hatay. So we had to do our share of also response. I think our response was modest, close to probably $250,000 to $300,000 of response. Also, food and shelter, immediate, hot soups in the cold winter was important, but also trying to help many of the families that now need relocation to other areas. I don't see. Oh, 1 minute. Okay, I was waiting for that. So that 1 minute, if you don't mind, I will quickly use that 1 minute just to show a few nice, perhaps pictures, if you don't mind. And I will think picture should show. It's paused. Gosh, okay. I think I should redo this. Right, this. I think you're seeing pictures, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, we are.
great.
Pictures for Rama.
So just a few of the pictures distributing toys for kids, heaters, as you see, even solar panels. These audios, they just don't work. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
City of Salqin in northwest Syria as a result of the massive earthquake that took place on February 6th. At least 50 buildings fell down in the city of Salqin alone, and at least 400 casualties died in the city. I'm at one of the sites of the neighborhoods. You can still see first responders and rescue teams still working to find family members and lost loved ones. You see family members waiting to find their loved ones. We have housed here 100 families in those makeshift camps. These are shelters, temporary shelters. Each long tent houses about 5 families with about 10 children. You can see these tents right behind me. So we at the Syrian Forum USA, with your support and your generous contributions, we were able to provide shelter. Again, I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of those many families, I want to thank you very much for your generous support. Jazakumullah khair. Continue to support Syrian Forum USA.
All right, thank you. I think my minute is over. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Brother Ammar. And images are always so powerful, and we know we've been seeing a lot of really tough images, and also just the visual image you created when you said people didn't even have clothes to come down. I mean, it struck me at first when I heard the news, I thought this happened 4 p.m. And then when I did a double take, when I was like, this happened 4 a.m. Like, this is middle of the night. People are in their homes. So subhanAllah, may Allah make everything easy for them. We have next, actually, do we have someone from Helping Hand for Relief and Development on the call? I didn't have it.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ilyas Hassan Chaudhry. I'm from Houston, Texas, and Director of Development for Helping Hand for Relief.
Okay, Brother Ilyas, the floor is yours.
Okay. Jazakallah khair for this opportunity, and we really appreciate this. So I have my presentation here. So as mentioned by all of you, we have been devastated as a humanity, looking at what's happening in Turkey and Syria for a long time, and now Turkey hit by these 2 massive earthquakes. So Helping Hand is actually was started by our mother organization as a 501c3 organization in 2005. Our mother organization is Islamic Circle of North America. And the inspiration that we get is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he has informed that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a mercy to not only this world, but all the universes, all the worlds. So if he is that mercy, we following him, his footsteps have to be merciful to all the existence. Our vision and mission basically talks about empowering lives, creating opportunities, and strengthening the bond of humanity. We are registered international NGO in 10 different countries. And through those 10 countries, we have an approach to 60 other countries across the globe. Turkey is another location where very recently, like 3-4 months ago, we filed our application for international NGO status, which will be soon provided. Earlier, we have been working in Turkey area since 2009, when the last big earthquake hit over there. And we have been supporting the Syrian refugees who are living in Turkey. We have a good, credible standing with a lot of these. So this is, we have 14 different programs that we do. The way we do is that we start usually with a massive, maybe emergency relief effort. But then if the situation is huge, then we try to stay in those regions, try to register ourselves properly, and do a series of projects that that touch the lives of any human being, you know. So any kind of project that you can imagine, we have a program set for that. So we stay there for a long period of time, and that's the plan right now for us. Last year, we were able to touch the lives of more than almost 9 million people. So coming to the Turkey, we already know about these devastating stats. So, and these are the areas, the 11 provinces hit, and 2 of the governorate in Syria also very badly hit. These 2 governorates are where the government of USA has allowed the NGOs to go and operate in those through their OFAC license. But there are other locations also within Syria that are affected. And initially we started with a $5 million pledge, but now we have doubled it to 10 million. And we have almost reached 50% of that 10 million. And we have already allocated more than $4 million to our different partner organizations. And once we have our own registration, we will also work ourselves, inshallah. So some of the things that we have been doing are around these areas right now in Turkey, and also in Syria. We are in a generous area, and we also have reached to other places in Syria that we will be expanding our work. These are some of the items or some of the survival items that we are providing, because right now there is a 3-month emergency declared by the government of Turkey. So for the next 3 months, it's basically the trying to try our level best that people, they survive, and then they come back to their lives slowly, and then we will do the rebuilding phase. Up till now, we have distributed some of these items on a regular basis, on daily basis in the areas that I've mentioned. And almost more than 62,000 people have been served up till now and continuously being served. So our CEO, Brother Javed Siddiqui, he went into the area. So in the bottom 2 pictures, if you'll see on the left side is our representative from our Jordan office and Brother Hisham. So our Jordan office was there within the 2 days after the incident. And they started working with our partner organizations. On the right-hand side is Brother Javed Siddiqui with our director for MENA office, Sheikh Yasir Al-Khuli. And then I'll have some more photos, similar kind. We have all these survival items as well as psycho support activities for the children over there in the area. And so these are some of the activities, some of our partners in that area that we are working with. So this was, alhamdulillah, as soon as some of the checkpoints were open, So Alhamdulillah, we were able to send one of the largest convoy of relief items into Syria. And we really appreciate everyone who has prayed for the people of Syria and have supported. So Alhamdulillah, on behalf of everyone, we were able to send, Alhamdulillah, a large convoy into the area. These are some of the distributions that we are doing. As was mentioned, that there are a lot of tent cities. So we go to these tent cities, tent by tent, we provide these supports to them with the heating material, food items, and other stuff. And so this is some of the future plans that we have. In Turkey, the government of Turkey has pledged that they will build each and every home for the people. So shelter has been clearly taken away by the government of Turkey, which is very, very nice gesture on their part. So what we are doing is that till the end of these 3 months, every day, we are providing 2,000 hot meals through our partner organization. Our partner organizations are providing almost 40,000 meals. We are only putting some of that like 2,000 meals per day. As I mentioned, we have a very good program for our orphans. So inshallah, we have started collecting the data on orphans, and we are going to sponsor 400 orphans in Turkey who are either Syrian refugees or local Turkish. We are also providing, that there's a lack of tents over there, so we're bringing tents from outside of Turkey, and we'll establish a 500 tent shelter village, which also will have 5 tents for clinics and classrooms. And then Ramadan food package. We also have a skills development program. Inshallah, we're going to start with 300 students as soon as some normality is established over there. In terms of Syria, we are going to bring in 500 tents and going to establish a village. But at the same time, through two of our partner organizations, in fact, two of our partner organizations, we are making 570 permanent homes, actually. These are 2-room homes, concrete and steel, 570. They're going to start in the next 10 days or so, and will be finished by August, because the OFAC license at this time is till August. And we are advocating the government of USA that it should become permanent, and so that we can do some permanent projects also on the long run. We also are doing a major wash project as well. And then the same thing till the end of Ramadan, we'll continue doing these 2,000 meals per day in Syria as well. And more than 8,700 families will get the Ramadan food package. So these are 2 areas where we are working in Aleppo, and so these are the 2 places over there. So again, thank you very much for giving us the time.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Brother Ilyas, and I agree with Lena, very effective visuals there. So thank you. And next we have Brother Ayman from Sunrise, USA. With us, Brother Ayman.
Right here, Assalamu alaikum. This is Ayman Jawziyati, Director of Sunrise USA. We started back in 2011, and all our work is 100% inside Syria in liberated areas. And in the earthquake, we started in the second day distributing hot meals, about 20,000 hot meals on the victims, especially in Jinderis. And we focus on schools. We have 8 schools with 8,000 students and about 220 teachers. And most of those teachers become volunteers during the earthquake and starting distributing food. So we were equipped. In fact, we're not emergency response. We focus on the schools, and we have 1,150 orphans on a monthly basis, $50 an orphan. But with this crisis, I mean, all the volunteers started to work in distributing food. on the victims. At the same time, we shipped already about 12 containers of blankets, clothing, sanitizers, wipes, baby wipes, and hospital beds, jackets, shoes. So at the same time, we are working on building shelters, 100 units in the area outside, little outside Jindaris. And we have in the area of Mashhad Rahim inside Syria, we are building 14 buildings, about 87 apartments, a mosque, a clinic, and a mall and vocational school. We finished already about 4 buildings with 24 apartments. They are not distributed yet. Alhamdulillah, all our schools are intact with the earthquake, and all kids are back to school. Same thing, our buildings are intact, and they are continuing to final touch to let people live in it. Our next project is, as I said, the units, housing units in the area of Jindaris, 100 units. Hopefully, it will be done. 50 of them will be done within the next 50 days, 60 days, I'm sorry. And then the other 50 days, another 50 units. So hopefully we'll do good, inshallah. And our construction crew, besides the teachers, we have 220 teachers and staff. The construction crew is about 130 construction crew who is working day and night to help others now, and in the regular days try to build the housing units and our big city of 87 apartments, 14 units. This is, in a nutshell, this is our work. And inshallah, we'll continue working. And I would like to thank all the brothers and sisters who spoke before me for the impressive work. Well, northern Syria is a devastated area and need a lot of work and need, I would say, not even 1,000 organizations can finish the job. So your great job is really appreciated. Thank you very much. I will keep it brief. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Brother Ayman, and may Allah reward you for that, the focus on the education and the homes, especially the schools. I know that's so important to bring kind of the sense of normalcy for these children back, which is, you know, whatever you can gather from it, because it's really, really a struggle. I'm gonna ask if it's okay. I know we have one organization that was kind of coming on standby to see, but if I can give the platform to Karam first, Sister Najah, if that's okay, and then we'll let you go. I think we'll have time. So we have Rose from Karam Foundation. Rose, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for sharing about the incredible work that you're doing, and for those of you for joining to learn about the work that we're all doing both inside Turkey and Syria. Let me share. Are you all able to see my screen? Perfect.
Yes.
My name is Gül McCall. I also go by Rose. I am Turkish American, and I'm the director of philanthropy at Karam Foundation based out of Illinois. Karam means generosity in Arabic, and our work mainly focuses on providing pathways for leadership for refugee youth and their families, mainly inside Turkey, since Turkey hosts the largest number of Syrian refugees. We do this through 3 core programs that are education focused, but most importantly about Karam is that we define people by their aspirations, not their circumstances. What I mean by this is that you will never see us as an organization posting pictures of people in need in camps. We try to show our people as what they're capable of, and so that the community around us can see them as such. I'll dive a little bit into our programs, just so you all know what we do. We are not a disaster relief organization. We have a Karam Families program, which is usually a 2-year program where we identify families in need and we provide a stipend, a monthly stipend for them. And in exchange, families send their kids to school to ensure that every child is in school and they're not on the streets. And also the household leads attend vocational training, Turkish lessons, and they do resume building so that within the 2 years they can be financially independent members of the community. Our innovative education program is an after-school design-based programming. It's a safe space for kids to come through, both Syrian refugees and the local Turkish youth, so they can build camaraderie. But most importantly, also the space provides opportunities for hands-on design learning, where we have high-tech appliances such as 3D printing machines. So think of this space, and we call them Karam Evi, Karam houses. We're both in Istanbul and Reyhanlı, as innovation hubs. It's a place for youth to come practice their critical thinking, gives them a space for imagination, analysis, and ability to evaluate information. Our Karam Scholars Program is a gap tuition program for refugee youth already accepted into university. It is not a direct university tuition. It provides scholarships for Turkish lessons if they're trying to take some Turkish language exams for university, their transportation books, but most importantly, they receive mentorship and guidance, because we all know throwing money at a need doesn't necessarily always solve it successfully. So we're very dedicated to providing specialized need for anybody that needs it. Like I said, we are not a disaster organization. However, the earthquakes have impacted us personally. Reyhanlı is within the Hatay province, one of the epicenters of the earthquakes, where we have been for the past 10 years. We have lost 10 of our youth. Some have perished with their entire families under the rubble. So this is very personal for us. And in a disaster, the first people to respond are usually community members, because they're the ones quite literally in the impacted zone. So within the first 48 hours, we knew what we needed to do, and we were able to deploy funds to ensure folks were receiving thermal blankets, like high quality foam mattresses, water, food, anything that they need. And we did this. I'm in awe of our team on the ground, because once we assured their safety and they assured their family safety, they were very eager to get back to their communities and provide support. In a previous life form, I was in emergency management, and I specialized in disaster relief. And every disaster has a cycle, which is mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. In the past month, most of us have been in response mode, and some continue to be so. And right now, Karam is transitioning. We recognize that even though we're not a disaster relief organization, this is a need for us. It's our community. So we are in the process of planning long-term recovery plans. We have raised a little over $2 million, and we want to ensure that those funds are being stewarded correctly. So what we're doing right now is, as Ramadan is approaching, we provide grocery cash cards. Since most folks are receiving food baskets already, we wanted to provide that independence so that folks can celebrate with their families the way in which they see fit. We have been doing house repairs in Aleppo. We were able to deploy funds to ensure there were some house repairs being done, and we hope to continue to do so. In Idlib, we have identified a partner at a camp, and we hope to provide warm meals at that camp, which houses 500 families. One of the major needs long-term will be mental health for everybody involved, especially with the aftershocks. one thing that we're really proud of are some of our Karam Scholar students identified fellow classmates who had lost their entire families and their tuition was upcoming, and they started fundraising for these scholars, which brought to our attention that there were students in need. So we have taken lead from our scholars, and we've also are in the process of identifying any university students who might have lost family members who are in need. We want to encourage their continued education. And we're continuing to assess the needs on the ground because needs are changing, and we want to make sure that we're providing immediate need. Most pressing needs right now are really money is king in disaster, much like what we all spoke about. It provides independence, it provides some sort of normalcy, and also allows the local economy to kickstart. So this is a QR code. I did not put a price tag on mental health because it is priceless. And we have partners on the ground that we've partnered with pre-earthquake, and we're trying to really revamp and ensure that we're able to provide mental health referrals, because we're not doctors, to appropriate organizations with appropriate cultural norms and also language. But these are our current needs right now. In terms of our programs, our Karam Families program is Zakat eligible, and it is throughout the year. Let's see, how to have the most impact. I think it's to stay informed, follow the organizations that are reputable on social media, see what type of news they're putting out to be updated on what's happening on the ground. Give directly to organizations that are reputable and that are on the ground. Give one time, give for long term. What do I mean by that? Become a monthly contributor to an organization that you value, because small organizations are usually the ones on the ground pre and also long term, and they really count on your dollars. At Karam, we have a multi-year commitment plan. I'm happy to talk to anyone that's interested in that. It allows donors to really financially plan their giving, and also allows us as an organization to create long-term relief and sustainability. Share, right? Continue to stay informed and share with your network, with your friends and your colleagues. The last slide that I have are linked to 2 articles. If you click on the icons, they're shareable. So I encourage you to listen and read and share them as well. And last, volunteer. I think this is very important, but it's also important to do the research to ensure that organizations in areas are actually in need of volunteers, and that you're able to utilize your skills and time where you're enjoying the experience as well. But when it's time for a long-term recovery, it's very important, I think, to also give our time. And I hope that if you're able to, you can. So when you donate to an organization like Karam, you do really amplify an on-the-ground refugee-led nonprofit. About 80% of our staff are either displaced folks or refugees themselves. They help create our programming, but also implement it. We believe that shared experience is highly valued, and we try to provide opportunities for the local community to be employed and also share their experience as well. And follow us on social media. We're always sharing. There'll be more news from us from on the ground as our emergency response switches to long-term recovery. And lastly, this is the last slide. There was an NPR interview with one of our Karam House teachers, Asala, who shares her experience of trying to evacuate and ensure her family's safety. I hope that you can advocate for refugee voices and for those voices in need by spreading Asala's voice. And I've also linked an interview with our founder, Lena Sergiatar, in discussing how we're in the 12th year of the Syrian war, and there's still much more need to be had. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rose, and thank you for bringing that unique perspective on the work in the area, especially with the focus on the youth. And I just want to make sure before we go to UOSSM, our last presenter is Mercy Without Limits. Is there anyone on the call from Mercy Without Limits? Okay. Sister Naja, we're going to give you, if it's okay, 5 minutes so we get some time for question and answer, but the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you, Ada, for adding me on such a short, just short basis. I wanted to take a moment and make dua for all those whose lives are lost. It's been heartbreaking and devastating, just to see just the absolute devastation. I am the Public Relations Director for USSM USA, which is in French, OSOM stands for Union of Medical Care and Relief Organizations. We've been on the ground since 2012 in Syria. We provide medical care and relief, mental health care, protection and nutrition services, emergency humanitarian relief such as food baskets, shelter, and hygiene kits. We also operate in Turkey, providing mental health care and physiotherapy through our complete rehabilitation centers. We also operate in Jordan, supporting refugees and the others underserved there with different projects, including a current project that we received a grant by the U.S. Department of State to support educational enrichment integrated with psychosocial support. As of March 2nd in Syria, 4,540 people died, 8,786 were injured. Many of these injuries, many of those injured are suffering from crush syndrome, which is it's a devastating injury that hurts many parts of your body. Recently we heard, I don't know if, I'm sure everybody has heard of Sham, the girl that was under the rubble. She had recently lost both of her legs because of this horrible injury, being under the ground, buried under the rubble. We have been on the ground, like I mentioned, since 2012. We were able to respond immediately to the crisis. We have our hospitals. Let me share my screen. That should be helpful. Can you guys see my presentation? Okay. Sorry. I don't know why I did this. Yes, so we have been on the ground right away through our hospitals and our medical facilities. Right now, as of February 27th, we provided care to 34,348 patients, provided 878 major surgeries through our 8 hospitals, and we have been deploying 10 mobile clinics that are integrated with mental health and psychosocial support for those affected, and it includes, medical care and other emergency needs to the most affected areas of the earthquake, and this is in Syria. In Turkey, we are also providing tele-mental health services and tele-rehabilitation services through our offices in Turkey as well. Here's some pictures of our hospitals distributing through our mobile clinics and providing care through our different health facilities. We have this that provides our weekly updates. And like I mentioned, we've already provided 34,348 services, patients with over 50,000 consultations and over 800 major surgeries and 184 minor surgeries. And these are other services that we also provide through our centers and health facilities in Northwest Syria. We realize that the need is great, and these are some of the things that we would like to do. The need is very, very, very large. Like my previous colleagues all mentioned, the situation has been really bad since the beginning, since 2012, with millions in millions displaced and millions in need of humanitarian relief. So see, these are some of the things that we would like to do within the next 6 months to provide our support, which is a $4.4 million budget over 6 months. We have 7 hospitals, and 2 of them are mental health hospitals in Northwest Syria, and we have 14 primary healthcare centers. We have 8 specialty centers that provide specialty services such as physiotherapy, advanced diagnostics, blood bank, thalassemia, dialysis, and urinary and bladder rehabilitation. Like I mentioned, we have 10 mobile clinics right now traveling throughout Northwest Syria every single day, and they're integrated with mental health because the need is many people have been traumatized by what they have experienced with the earthquakes. An example is in the earthquake, the second earthquake that happened on February 20th. People were so scared they were just jumping out of windows, and they were getting hurt. Many of our injuries were people falling out of balconies because they got hurt, broken arms and legs because they were just so scared to end up being under the rubble. And these are our mobile teams that we have with protection, community health, and mental health and psychosocial support. And these are our medical facilities right now that we have the capacity for. And obviously the need is much more than what we are able to provide. We are doing the best we can with, our capabilities. And this is the costs for running these hospitals, and this is just for 3 months. So imagine how much is needed. More pictures showing our services being provided. We have our board members, co-founders that actually visited the centers. Visited Northwest Syria, our Dr. Munzer Yazji, and he actually provided some surgeries and expertise and supported our staff, which our staff, many of them have been working nonstop, regardless of the fact that they themselves became victims. Many of our staff lost family members. Many of them became homeless. Many of them were hurt, and they were still working nonstop still to help those even worsely affected by the earthquake. We've been interviewed countlessly over the past few weeks with CNN. We were listed on many reputable organizations of how to donate and support our work. And this is our QR code. I wonder if you're telling me there's 1 minute left. Yes, sorry. I hope I didn't go over, but yes, thank you, Oda, for adding me to this quickly. And this is how you can support us, follow, share. We're updating daily on our website and our social media to see all the different things we're doing on the ground, medical and humanitarian. The need is so great. So please, thank you for everybody for caring and all your hard work and support.
Thank you so much. Perspective, like when you were talking, I was thinking, we all celebrated seeing those rescues out of the rubble, but we don't always think of what happens afterwards in the long struggle that those survivors have to do. So Jazakumullah khair and thank you to all the organizations that were with us today. I'm going to show them really quick one more time so you can kind of make a mental note of who presented today. And I know we went over, but I thought it was important to, especially since Sister Najah made it out here, to let her have some time. So we'll open it up now for questions, if anybody has questions to direct at any one representative or in general. Happy to take those questions. And as people are thinking of their questions, you can also put it into the chat. We want to remind everyone that, this is going to be a continuing effort, as many of the nonprofits shared. This is not a one-time or, this is not a short-term recovery project. Even and the months to come, the years to come, there's a lot of work to be done, and lots of opportunities here to support that work. So let me check the chat here, see if anybody has a question. Feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to just call out your question.
If there's no questions, we can also give everybody back their time. The email addresses and information are listed, and they were shown in the presentation. We will be sharing this presentation on social media and with on our website, hopefully. We'll get that set up in the next week or so. So absolutely, if anyone has questions, you can also reach out personally to every single organization who are doing amazing work. So thank you so much, everyone. But if there are any questions here, we can answer them as well.
Yep. We'll keep that opportunity open until our time is up. So like Sara said, we'll give the opportunity to all the organizations if they'd like to share their slides. We can share that for everyone who registered here, and then we'll be posting the recording as well, open to the community. No questions or thoughts? So thank you, Lena. Thank you. Thank you to Imana, Diyanet Center Silicon Valley, Syrian Forum USA, Helping Hand for Relief and Development, International Rescue Committee, Sunrise USA, Karam, UOSSM USA, and then Mercy Without Limits couldn't join us today, but also worth checking out. And we know there's many other organizations working on the ground. These are not the only ones, but it was a pleasure to have this group of organizations share with us personally today. And if there are no other questions, we'll wrap up, and thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for hosting this, and thank you everyone for all your hard work.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Jazakallah khairan.